The new First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, in Northern Ireland, tells my colleague David Blevins that she expects a vote on Irish unity within the next decade. Do you think that's inevitable?
If there's one word I have always avoided in all my political life, and for that matter, in every book that I've ever written, it's the word inevitable. You can never predict what's going to happen in the future just because of what's happened in the past. But yes, that may come at some point. I don't know. I'm absolutely delighted that we finally got proper government up and running in Northern Ireland. And indeed, it may be unusual, but I sent Chris Heaton-Harris, the Northern Ireland Secretary, a text message to congratulate him, because I think that, it is quite an achievement. We shouldn't have got into this place in the first place. Every single thing about Brexit in relation to Northern Ireland was not only predictable, but was predicted. But I'm delighted that we've managed to get proper power sharing back in place in Northern Ireland now. As for what will happen in the future, that depends on how the individual politicians play their hands, doesn't it?
If you don't like the word inevitable, would you go with desirable?
It's not for me to decide what should happen in Northern Ireland. That's for the people of Northern Ireland.
It's a good thing that there should be a vote.
No, I think that is for the people of Northern Ireland. It's pretty clearly laid down in the Northern Ireland peace process and in the agreement that how that process should be followed. And that is for the people of Northern Ireland to decide. But as I say, it depends on how the politicians play their hands over the next few years.
All right. I guess the story that will be on most people's minds this weekend is the dreadful attack by Abdul Azedi on a woman and two children. And now, politicians shouldn't interfere with tribunals, particularly immigration and so on. But do you think that there's something wrong with a system that lets a man with Azedi's record, sex offences and all the rest of it, roam free in the streets?
Yes, basically. I mean, certainly if everything that we've been told in the newspapers over the last few days is true. Obviously, I didn't sit in on the tribunal, and as you rightly say, I'm always a bit reluctant as a politician to weigh into an individual decision. But in the main, on the face of it, if everything that we've been told is true, then it seems absolutely extraordinary that the British people should be put at such risk from this person. And it does make you ask lots of questions about the criminal justice system in the UK, about the asylum system, and how safe our borders are. So, yes, I would... in the end, it's politicians who write the rules that the tribunals have to follow. But, of course, it's something that we need to look at.
You think that there might be a case for reviewing this decision and thinking again about the law and the statute that governs tribunal decisions?
It's not for me to decide whether the original tribunal decision was right or wrong. That's where you have to have a divide between politicians and tribunals. No, exactly. I think you're right there, Trevor. That we ought to be looking at the rules and whether they are appropriate for this kind of situation. But look, I mean, in the end, the most important thing is we need to find this man and we need to make sure that he's behind... Well, first of all, that he's given the medical care that he undoubtedly needs, as the police were referring to yesterday, and also that he's behind bars and isn't able to do this again. And, of course, a lot of people will be very, very worried and frightened.
All right, well, let's look at Labour itself, things that you have to do. Everybody's saying it's possible that the next government might be a Labour government.
Only if we win the general election, Trevor. Only if we win the general election.
I know. Let's talk as though that's a possibility. There's been some uncertainty this week about whether the Labour Party has actually committed to spending £28 billion of public money a year at some point during the next Labour government or not on its Green Prosperity programme. Can you clear this up? Will Labour spend £28 billion at any point a year on green prosperity?
It is our ambitious commitment to do precisely that. For lots of very good reasons. First of all, because we want to be able to set up Great British Energy, which would be an energy company.
We do know that, Chris, we do know the reasons, because they've been repeated many times on this programme. What I really want to know is whether this is just an ambition that might or might not happen, or whether when people come to vote for you, they can be assured that that is what you're going to do.
It is our ambitious commitment to do precisely that. Now, of course, we're not in government.
Okay.
When
are you planning to do it? I mean,
yes, let me just...
an ambitious commitment might take 2 years to realise, or it might take 20 years to realise. The question is, you originally said that this would be Labour's plan for its first term. Then you said it might happen in the second half of the first term. Last week, I spoke to your colleague, Jonathan Reynolds, who seemed to be saying not only was there no timescale, but actually it might not be public money at all. It would have to come from the private sector. What is Labour going to do?
We would like to do it as soon as we can. What we don't know yet is what the state of the British finances will be at the end of this year. And I note that the next Parliament will last roughly from 2025 to 2030. Nobody is sitting down and asking Jeremy Hunt what he's going to be spending next year, let alone in 2028, 29.
Next month.
Well, no, exactly.
He hasn't made that promise.
But this is my point, Trevor, that, I mean, it is great that everybody is very... keen to know what Labour's going to do, and we're laying it out as clearly as we possibly can, which is that we have an ambitious commitment to be able to deliver 500,000 new jobs and create great British energy so that we can protect...
It's clear. OK, let me try something else with you. I see this morning...
Trevor, sorry, can I just go back? I don't understand what it is that you obviously think that I'm not being as clear as I could be. I'm saying
I've asked you a question.
Is our ambitious commitment, and we intend to do it as soon as we possibly can. Of course, the single most important thing, as we've known over the last few years, is you can't just have a government spraying money left, right and centre and cutting taxes and changing tax rates left, right and centre, because it leads to instability in the British economy. And that's why people's mortgages are going up by £250 a month because of Liz Truss.
Chris Bryant, it was my ambitious commitment to score a double century for England and take 5 wickets. Sadly, it never happened.
And that's why we are determined to lay it out we want...
So you're telling me it might not happen?
No, I'm not. I'm saying it will happen. It is our intention to make it happen, and we will make it happen as soon as we possibly can. But the bit that we can't be certain of is what the state of the British finances will be by the time Jeremy Hunt and Rishi Sunak have finished with it. They don't have any plan in this area at all, and we do have a clear plan.
Forgive me. I know you have given us some limited time, so I just want to ask you about something else. It's reported this morning that you are planning to water down your commitment to reform the House of Lords. Is that true?
So I think this is a report from the Observer, which was not briefed by the Labour Party, was never put to the Labour Party before it appeared in the newspaper. Look, as with every single thing that we are going to bring forward in our manifesto in the general election, whenever that general election is finally called by Rishi Sunak, we want to be a credible government. And that doesn't mean that you can make everything happen on day one. Some things have to happen in year 2 or year 3 or year 4. No, we are not watering down. We are absolutely committed to a proper House of Lords that is not constituted as it presently is, but you've got to lay out proper powers between the two houses. You've got to get rid of the hereditary peers. So yes, we do want to bring about change, but the question is, how can you be a credible government that has a plan that lays it out stage by stage?
OK, I understand the point, but you see what it looks like. It looks like every time somebody questions your plan, you suddenly decide that it's an ambition and not something certain. But can I just ask you about something else that's very important and is something that you as a parliamentarian, I think, have been focused on? We've seen another Member of Parliament stand down this week, citing safety concerns, Mike Freer in North London. Do MPs need more protection?
Well, I'm very conscious that in the last few years we've lost 2 MPs, Sir David Amess and Joe Cox, both murdered, and Stephen Timms was attacked, and others have been attacked, and there was the horrible set of threats and plot against Rosie Cooper, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. I think every single one of us as an MP could give you a list of death threats and threats of attacks that we receive on pretty much a weekly basis. Now, I think there are two solutions to this. The first is not primarily to enhance security, though that has undoubtedly happened, and lots of MPs take all these security issues seriously, not only for themselves but also for their staff. You know, my office in Tonopandi, most of the time I'm not there, I'm in Parliament, but they are. And so I need to make sure that there's security for them as well. But the second thing is we really do need to take some of the poison out of British politics. We can't keep on running politics as my camp, your camp, divide all the time. Sometimes we do just need to do a better job in Parliament of enhancing trust in Parliament. Trust in politicians is at an all-time low. I mean, I know people always think, oh, well, all politicians lie. But actually, at the moment, it's something like 90% of people think that all politicians lie all of the time. So we've got to change that element of trust in British politics. Every single one of us politicians needs to think before we get into the political arena about whether we're pouring more poison into the well or not.
Sorry to hurry you up there, Chris Bryant, but I think we've got that message. Maybe a little bit more generosity on all sides is in order. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Trevor.